So Innovate Finance has been an amazing show, lots of great highlights. I guess I'm a bit biased, I helped run a session yesterday, so that for me was the highlight. And we got together a set of the startups and some of the incumbents, and we had them role play a cybersecurity risk scenario, a boardroom dilemma. So we made some of them be board members, some of them be the executive team, and some of them be external stakeholders, and put them through some really challenging scenarios. And I think it's a great message for Innovate Finance. The quality of people, their thought, the way they tackle the challenges were very encouraging. So that was a very enjoyable and interesting session that I had the pleasure of taking part in. So FinTech, awful lot going on, but what's the biggest challenge that they face? Well, I think I obviously focus on cybersecurity and privacy, and I think that's a really challenging area for these startups. They've got to gather large volumes of data and analyze it, but they've got to do that safely. And in our session earlier in the conference, we covered a couple of sort of key threats. One being massive distributed denial of service, flooding the systems, knocking them offline. When you're an entirely online startup, as many of them are, you're very exposed to that risk. And the other was ransomware, attackers taking your critical data, encrypting it and putting it beyond your use, and then demanding, extorting fees to get it back. And obviously for these organizations, their data is the core piece of value they have, coupled with the trust. So for startups, a lot of interesting challenges happening at the moment. Well, they've had a great history of defending against some of the traditional threats. Organized crime, disgruntled employees, they've got an awful lot of experience and knowledge, but suddenly the world has changed a little bit. And some of these large financial institutions are actually being targets of nation states looking to deal with economic pressure, to deal with political questions, targeting their infrastructures. So suddenly, instead of just defending against organized criminals, they're looking at a much higher level of threat. And that's a real challenge for these large organizations. How do they configure themselves? How do they prepare for a very different threat environment they're operating in? What's going to be the next unicorn in FinTech space? That's a big question. Lots of interesting new ideas coming up. I guess when I look at it from my lens of my work in privacy and cybersecurity, there's a few features the next really successful unicorn's going to need, not just to get there, but also sustain that. And that's very much around trust. You know, one of the fascinating things is we have such a high level of trust to these large brands we've known for hundreds of years. Some of these new startups are obviously having to work out how they can demonstrate that they can offer the same level of trust and safety. I think that's going to be an absolutely key feature, not only to the scaling, but also the success once they've reached that kind of massive unicorn size. So, my last Google search, well, I have two tabs open, so I'm going to have a work-related one and a sort of more home one. Work-related, we're doing a lot of work around GDPR at the moment, helping organizations prepare, and there's a lot of new guidance coming out from various regulators about their approach. So I always have a series of searches around that to keep up to date with what's happening, but to sort of stay sane in the fast-moving world we're in. I also like to relax by doing open water swimming. So I swam the Channel last year as a two-person relay, and the person I swam with, she's swimming on her own this year, so I've been searching how to do really good support from the boat to make sure she makes it safely to France.